Welcome to episode 9 of the Buckeye Bar Guys. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
We are here on Buckeye Bar Talk Network. How you doing tonight, John?
I'm good, Mike. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. It's feeling like fall out there.
Yeah, it's cold, but we got Indians playoff baseball. We've got a presidential debate tonight.
Yeah.
Cold weather, as we said. So, yeah, it's starting to feel like fall.
Definitely feeling like football. I'm glad we have football because right now it would stink because, I was thinking earlier about how we had we didn't have a great summer because of everything with the pandemic and everything being closed down.
It's really happy summer.
So it was it's been kind of a little shock to the system this week that the weather's starting to dip. We got Buckeyes are coming up in a couple weeks. Tonight it's actually the 29th of September. So you guys won't be watching this tonight, but as of right now, this is Antonio Pittman Day. That means we're 25 days until the start of the season.
I love Pittman.
Yeah.
He was so good.
Yeah. Like I said, I actually responded to somebody on Twitter earlier today. I said how, because I have, you've been following us on the social media sites. I've been posting every day since, I believe, was it the 34th we started? 34 days out.
Yeah, I want to say you'd start at 34.
Yeah. So we've been posting just somebody with that jersey number. So today's Pittman. So you guys will probably either be seeing this on Sean Springs Day because that's going to be 24 or maybe 23. I haven't picked that one yet. So
we don't got a 23 day yet?
I don't have one yet. I'm looking at a couple guys. So I'll probably be making that decision tonight. But speaking of the social media sites, just wanted to remind everybody to, please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit the all notifications alert and give us likes, give us comments. We love hearing comments. Comment on any of the social media sites and Twitter feed. And if we get comments, any questions, anything like that, we'd love to read them out loud out here on the show. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you're listening to it on the podcast networks, we're pretty much on all the major ones now. I believe every single one of the major ones. So come on out, listen to us, watch us, like all of our social media feeds, and join the community. Come join our bar.
Guys, if I seem distracted, I got the Indians game straight ahead for me here. So we're already down 2-0. Hopefully this game turns around, gets better for us Indians fans, but if anything good or bad happens, I'll try to keep it clean. I can't make, any promises, but I will try my best not to get too emotional here. But watching this, Mike, now that we're already into a hole, what do you think is more likely? The Indians pull this game out or the debate tonight, Donald Trump calls Biden Chinese spy?
I don't know. We're not getting into politics tonight. I
kind of wanted to place bets on this. I was like,
I saw enough of the drinking games earlier about what to take a sip and what to take a shot, and I realized if we did that, if you do that, you'd be dead of alcohol poisoning pretty quick.
Which outing do you think we're more likely to get a fight in? Like physical, like an actual.
That's a good one. I don't know.
Actual fist fight, a baseball game, or a presidential debate.
I don't think the two old dudes are gonna get us into a fist fight.
I don't know. That'd be sad.
All right, so get into the show tonight. We got a big show planned. Wanted to first talk about the polls. Actually, came in on both polls. We're number 6 in both. So we were eligible to be put back into the polls. We were eligible last week with the coaches poll. Both polls this week we were eligible. So number 6. Any of your initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm okay with being 6. At the end of the year, I mean, the polls don't matter anyways. And at the end of the day, if they do their job, if they take care of their business, the Ohio State's going to be, a top 4 team. So I'm not too concerned about the polls. I guess I don't understand. Like, people are like, well, they haven't played a game yet, so we're not going to rank them. Well, they never play games for preseason polls, so I don't understand what the hell is different, between this poll and any other preseason poll. Like, if you thought they were number 2 in the country, they're number 2. Now, I could say after, seeing Alabama play, I can understand if you say, well, hey, actually, I think Alabama might be better than Ohio State this year. Fine.
Yeah,
I could live with you saying Ohio State's 3, but it just doesn't make any sense. And you had no issue putting, SEC teams in there when they hadn't played yet. So I don't really get the whole not voting for the Buckeyes right now.
Yeah. I agree with that. I also agree with your statement. Polls don't matter. I mean, I always think, the preseason polls are kind of a joke to begin with.
Right.
I know why they do them. Well, I know why they do the AP poll. I've never understood the coaches poll. Like, why are the coaches doing preseason? Especially now that, none of that even matters.
Right, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't have any influence or effect whatsoever at the end of the day.
Like, I get why the AP does it, newspaper people, media people. I mean, they have to fill time. They're, doing stories and, that gives them stuff to talk about.
Right.
I mean, you're never going to get away from that stuff.
But I just do you honestly in your mind, have you ever thought, well, the playoff committee, they're going to, vote a certain way because the AP and or the coaches put someone here. So I don't see the point of it. Maybe if you were to do a poll like that, maybe wait 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
Or something.
The only thing I don't like with the committee,
I just don't get preseason.
And the only thing I don't like with the committee is that they do use polls early on to say, well, hey, and the biggest thing that comes up was a couple years ago when Alabama beat Florida State, and Florida State ended up being awful, but Florida State was number 4. I believe it was 4, or was it 5? It was something like
they were ranked high. They also, that game, Alabama, I know they might have only hurt DeAndre Francois in that game, but it seemed like Alabama hurt everybody. I mean, that game just killed Florida State.
And and then they still use that. That was the opening game of the year,
right?
So we don't know. And then they were like, well, Alabama did beat a top 5 team,
and by the point they were saying that, it was like, this top 5 teams already lost 3 times this year. Like, we know they're not that good.
Yeah. So, polls are polls. It was good to see that. It's good to see the Buckeyes back in the poll. It sucks that because of the stupidity of them not playing a season that they fell out of the poll in the first place, and that ruined their streak. I mean, they had such a great streak going on. It was over 100 weeks or whatever.
All right.
100. Yeah.
So they're saying the consecutive streak.
Yeah, that's gone because they missed the poll.
How lame.
Yeah. So
I'm actually kind of pissed now. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, but.
I didn't even think of that or know that.
Yeah.
That's garbage.
All right, so today, 29th, we've been having different press conferences throughout. We talked about the last one. We talked about Kerry Holmes' press conference. So Brian Hartline, it was his turn with a couple of the receivers today. So a couple of things that just before I get your things that kind of Hartline went over. So he was asked a couple times about different positions, X, Y, H, all the different wide receiver positions, and if he would put anybody anywhere. And he pretty much, he's being a coach about it. He's like, I'm not going to pretty much comment on that, but we do. All of our guys can play a multitude of positions.
Yeah.
And he likes that better. He did make a comment, because they talked about, Chris. Somebody asked him about, Olave and Jamison were both, I believe they Y's and or X's. I don't remember. Right?
Yeah.
But they were both the same position last year. Could both of them play at the same time this year? And he's like, absolutely. Again, all of our guys can play in multitude of positions and all that stuff. He had glowing remarks about Cam Babb. He just said how much he just makes plays. He's coming out. He's practicing hard. He's definitely, you can tell that Hartline is definitely rooting for him, that hopefully he stays healthy.
You think Cam Babb has incredible upper body strength? I mean, think about it. You hurt your leg after all those years in a row. I mean, what are you going to do for working out?
You're going to be doing a lot of lifting, upper body lifting. So, yeah, probably.
Could bench a house, man.
He was also asked about the black stripes. They've already had 3 of their 4, the stripes have come off. They asked him about, Mookie Cooper's, how he's been doing. He basically said, he came in, with him being hurt last year in high school and then kind of the whole pandemic, it's kind of, slowed him down a little bit, his progress. But, he's still gaming, he says.
Mookie, they're going to be pleasantly surprised with Mookie. I mean, I know that they gave him a scholarship. They know what he's all about. He's one of the top receivers in the country. I was watching some of his highlight videos. He's not very tall.
Yeah.
He's thick, though, and dude can block. Like, I know he was a running back a lot in high school, but I saw some of those plays that he was, a lead blocker for running backs, and yeah, he can block. He can downfield block. So they're going to be very happy with him in Ohio State system.
Yeah. Going off the we're just bringing up blocking and stuff. Hartline did talk about that with these guys because tomorrow, which will be the 30th, it actually might be when you guys are listening to this, it might be today but he was talking about they're putting pads on, so he said they get to actually kind of start seeing, because there's so much more to the position than just you gotta go out, you gotta block, you gotta join special teams hits, different things like that.
Right.
He seemed like he's pretty impressed so far with the freshmen. He said that there's no reason to think why they couldn't be 3 deep at the position, which is crazy to think about if they're going 3 deep across the board. Definitely some good things about that.
And to really go back to that, the first part of that about the X, Y's, and Z's and H-backs and where everyone fits in. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, well, who's going to be the slot? Who's going to be the X or the Y? And honestly, when you look at it, I mean, wouldn't you rather have number ones all over the field as long as they can be slot receivers, which I have no doubt that probably any of the starting receivers for Ohio State could be slot receivers. But wouldn't you feel more confident having a guy that can play all over and he could, potentially be that NFL number one wide receiver as opposed to, having, it's not gimmicky, but having someone that can really only do one or the next.
Oh yeah, definitely. He actually kind of just saying that all these guys could play everywhere. He did make a little bit of a joke earlier rather than the Chris. So I don't know if Chris can play a slot. And he's like, I'm just joking.
Right, I know.
Because Chris was standing right next to him at the time because a lot of it ended up speaking afterwards. But he did talk about Garrett Wilson and his move to slot. And again, like he kind of been saying everything, these guys could move around. I mean, that's not even a guarantee, but it seems like, he did say, everything with the pandemic, has kind of with, spring getting canceled and everybody's behind the ball, but, Garrett hasn't really gotten to work. And basically everything's been mental reps at this time and, you're studying film.
Yeah.
And, so he is, seemed like he's pretty stoked in a way. He didn't let it on. I mean, he had a good poker face, but you can definitely tell that I think he's pretty excited about Wilson being in the slot.
I mean, I am too, honestly. I know, like that guy, KJ Hill, and nothing I say, like I don't want to come off as insulting to Paris Campbell or KJ Hill. It's just kind of seems like Garrett Wilson. Of course, I don't think he's as fast as Paris Campbell, but it just seems like he can do so much that, like, the good traits that both of them had, it seems like he can do that as well. And he almost, I heard him described today as like an upgrade over KJ Hill. I mean, if you can even believe that, I kind of feel like that's what he is, like that he's KJ, but on a different level. I mean, he has great hands. The guy's fast. We've seen him on punt returns. And it sounds like, even though I never doubted his routes were good last year, I mean, he made a lot of plays, but only, more time with Brian Hartline coaching you, your route running is going to become crisper. He's going to get better.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just thinking about Wilson. And then you think about, like, Dave's, like, the crossing routes and stuff that he runs. I mean, just imagine that dude loose against a linebacker or safety. I mean, God help those teams.
I saw Dwayne. He didn't have a great game against the Browns, but I saw him get some mesh routes on us a couple times in that game.
Yeah.
Made me chuckle and think about the good old days in 18.
Yeah. When you think about, you think about some of the teams they're going to be playing in the Big Ten, the athleticism it's a lot better in the Big Ten than it used to be 10 years ago. But the one thing that where Ohio State kills teams on is that there's not a lot of speed across the conference in the middle of those defenses.
Right.
There's a lot of bulky guys that can come downhill and hit you hard, but it's just the crossing routes just seem like such a perfect offense for those crossing plays for some of the defenses they go up against. And
And they really, the Big Ten, I mean, a lot of times they don't really have like top end corners.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you get them at Michigan, and I think Penn State's done a better job. I'm not sure where they're at right now with it. They've done a better job with recruiting, but it really, like, when you talk about, top end corners, which this might be something that we get back into later when talking about the games around the country, though, it's really Ohio State's kind of like so far above everyone else in that regard.
Yeah, so definitely pretty happy, pretty pleased with what he said about Wilson. He talked about Jamison. Somebody asked him about what he needs to improve on and stuff, and everybody pretty much agrees that he can fly.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, you think of when I watch him run. I mean, it makes you think of Ted Ginn. I mean, the dude just can fly down the field. He's just that extra weapon that how do you even? You have to play against his speed, and that's just going to make guys like even Williams and or Wilson and Olave even more dangerous because regardless if Williams ends up being a Ted Ginn type guy that can keep to produce to the level that Ginn produced at,
Ted Ginn's still playing NFL football.
You gotta as a cornerback, as a safety, you gotta protect against that speed.
Yeah,
and having a guy run down the field like that now. Hartline does seem pretty impressed so far that he is getting better with his routes. That's one of the things he definitely has to work on. That dude, if he ends up becoming a good route runner,
forget about it.
Yeah.
And I was really, maybe not so much impressed with how Hartline said it, but kind of made me think what he said today when asked about that, because they had asked him, how's he doing? Speed, outside of speed, how's he maturing in other areas? And Brian said really that his approach has been, how would I be effective if I wasn't this fast? That he's trying to figure out the other ways to become a complete wide receiver. So if he didn't have that gift of speed, how's he still going to make plays? How's he going to get open to make plays? So I thought that was, interesting, but kind of cool to hear that that's kind of been Jameson Williams' approach that, how to complete himself as a wide receiver and not just rely solely on that speed.
And he even said he did. Now I did cut off the interview a little early. I'll get into that in a minute here. The audio wasn't great when Jameson was speaking at the end of it.
That was hard to
hear.
But
he did talk about personally that he has actually cut up a lot of different wide receiver film from top level guys in the pros, which that's smart to do. Those are guys that are doing it at the next level, and speed doesn't work necessarily at the NFL. And
you got to find a way to get over.
You got to be good route runners. Those windows are not there in the NFL like they are in college. So,
you got to create that separation too to use that speed because you don't have 5-6 seconds just to sprint downfield in the NFL. Like your quarterback's sacked if he's waiting for you to get open on that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other big thing that Hartline really touched on was he had a couple questions on the call on DeMario, and he just said, basically said that he has no doubt that Coach Day will be able to find creative ways to use him. I think it was kind of, and there's nothing against McCall. He's had a couple injuries here and there. He's kind of gotten lost in the talent.
He hasn't fit in anywhere outside of backup third string guy that came in against third string defenses and flat. He flashed for big plays. In his first collegiate game against Bowling Green, I believe he had a big touchdown run in that.
Now, he's got a lot of different things. He can run the ball. He can catch passes. It would be great if they find a way to use him every now and then. The problem is there's just so many weapons, and that's just another thing he kind of gets lost in.
He would have been great if he had been healthy when Urban Meyer was there.
Exactly. And that's who recruited him. He came in under Urban's, he's kind of that.
Because he fit that Dontre Wilson, that Jalen Marshall, Curtis Samuel. He fit that mold. He fit it to a T. He was.
But even under Urban, not always, those guys always necessarily get the most out of them.
No, Curtis became more of a running back, even though I think he's more of a wide receiver now in the NFL. Yeah. Of course, you have Christian McCaffrey on your team. Jalen became more of a receiver, and Dontre was mostly a receiver too. So, no one, and we talked about this one of the earlier episodes, no one really became Percy Harvin because Percy Harvin is Percy Harvin. They're not the same players.
And that's always been the one thing I don't like when coaches, they try to recruit that guy. I mean, just recruit and Urban was really good at this. I'm not cutting on Urban or anything. Just recruit top athletes and then just find out where they fit and try to get them the ball. I mean, Ohio State's problem, it's the problem for all of them. I mean, you think about a guy like Chris Olave, I mean, that dude on almost any other team in the country besides, the top 3 or 4 teams, and he's getting like almost 100 catches. I mean, same with Garrett Wilson. I mean, these guys, when you look at Ohio State's stats, I mean, some of these guys are getting like 40 catches, and it's like, 30
and
catches.
And they're number 1 receiver.
But it's just, your depth is there.
And that's also, I mean, that's how Ohio State plays, too. That, that's kind of something that they've been like that far before Urban. Even Tressel was all about balance also.
Yeah. And then we had Garrett then talk with Olave, and then Williams talked with McCall. Like I said, I didn't really listen too much to the Williams McCall stuff. It was just too hard to hear. One thing, and a lot of these guys, none of them really gave a lot. I mean, they all had their kind of PC answers to a lot of questions. I mean, they know
that's all you're going to get from
they know they know there's a lot of talent there. They know that they're fighting for playing time. Just even guys like Olave is still playing. He's the starter. He's gonna get his, but if the guy below him impresses, that guy's gonna get on the field too. Yeah. So Olave knows that. They all know that. Hartline's talking about they're possibly 3 deep, and
Well, I'd be interested to see these freshmen get on the field too, because it's going to be harder this year because you're not going to have those kind of warm up games.
Yeah.
Your warm up games are actually in November this year. You got to get to them.
Yeah. But it was good to hear from them. So I guess we'll start going through the breakdowns of the remainder of our offense positions.
Yeah.
So last week the last episode we did talk about quarterback and wide receiver. We broke down the receiver position a little bit more. We talked about today just because they had a press conference today.
And I would like to talk about, not today, but a future one, maybe the position coaches.
Yeah, I think we both want to kind of talk about how we feel about Corey as the quarterback coach. But we'll get that fit in probably. I mean, we still got a couple weeks before games. We'll get that fit in. So we'll start with running backs. So our running backs coming into the season is we got, Master Teague's back.
Master Teague is back, supposed to be on his way to being healthy enough to play.
Yeah. Marcus Crowley, again, he got hurt. He's back. It seems like they're hopeful that he will be he'll be healed too.
Well, he sounded behind at first, but then the last update I heard was like he's definitely benefiting from the late season too. That he should be a go awesome.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, you think about the two guys that really helped. That could be helped by this late start. Those two guys.
There's a benefit of it.
Those guys are definitely, those late start has definitely helped those guys. All right, I lost my train of thought there. Then we got Skill Chambers. We knew he was going to be healthy coming into this. And then you got Trey Sermon, and then the freshman Mayan Williams. But you thought Mayan Williams, you thought coming into the season that he was going to get a lot more playing time because of the injuries to
just out of necessity,
Teague and to Crowley.
And to his credit, I mean, that guy, if you saw like the shape he looked like in high school, and then when he came in the door ready for practice, I mean, that guy had worked his butt off to try to get ready.
Yeah, and so. There were some concerns about the depth because of Teague's and Crowley's injuries. Trey Sermon has come in. Everybody.
Well, he had an injury too.
Yeah, he had an injury also, and so you thought that you're from what it was sounding like he was going to be healthy coming into the season, and he was going to be the veteran. Yeah. If Teague and Crowley couldn't start the year, he was the veteran coming in, and they would have to rely a lot on him with Chambers and Williams getting backup runs.
Right.
But now I think one of the least depth things on the field, and they might have a lot of depth now that I think about it. So, and just your thoughts, your opinions about what I mean. My personal thing is I really think that these guys are really going to benefit because of these receivers.
Oh yeah. So, and I'll go into that here in a second. So, so as you said, it seems like we're going to have a lot of depth. I'm not sure how many balls can go around to these running backs. How many guys can get in there because of that? Little concerned because Kevin Wilson did say that he believes, as of right now, Master T and Trey Sermon are looking at a 50-50 split. 2018, I believe, if you counted J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber's yardage together, it's 2,000, but it didn't look right. Yeah. I don't know. That 50-50 split between running backs, it didn't feel right. Maybe they'll have a better grasp on it this time.
But they did do better together in 7.
Yeah, no, I mean, they did better together in 17, but I feel like Dobbins was more showcased in 17 than what Weber was. I feel like it was more of his show because Weber was hurt when they came in. Yeah. So I felt like he got the bulk over Weber. I mean, there were times Weber got more runs than I think Weber had more runs against Michigan in 17. He looked better against Michigan in 17. He looked better against Michigan State in 17. Dobbins, I think, proved he was a better running back altogether. But to me, 18 it never felt right. And I'm a little worried. Part of me worried that would happen again. But then the other part of me looks at this and, our receivers, believe it or not, they're better than what they were in 18. And Justin Fields can run much better than Dwayne Haskins. I see a lot of parallels with a lot of different seasons. Like, I kind of feel like J.K. leaving was kind of like Zeke leaving. And 16, we kind of had some unprovens, and running never really took off. Even Mike Weber had 1,000 yards, it never took off. And JT tried to, mask any weaknesses we had in the running game, or they leaned on JT too much. And you saw against like Clemson that just didn't work. But again, I do think that we're in a better position. We have a better line, obviously. Well, that was a good line too. I mean, you have a true freshman starting at guard that you probably never want to happen. I think you have a better line this year, though. I mean, I know you have a better line this year. Your running backs probably are better than Mike Weber and Curtis Samuel, but those guys are not slouches. I just think, when it comes to receivers, though, what'd you have, Noah Brown?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because what's his face?
Well, Mike Thomas is gone.
Mike Thomas is gone. I mean, Devin's gone for 2 years at that point.
Is Jalen still there?
Jalen leaves. He leaves in 15 too, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
They had Noah Brown, and then what's his face got hurt. Is it Corey Sanders?
Yeah.
So even though he wasn't like what we have now, but he wasn't even healthy then. So I mean, that's just kind of things that I look at when
this receiving core is a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. 16. And that's what I think. I mean, ultimately, I think the running backs are going to have plenty of space, and Justin runs the ball so well. So I don't think you're going to run into any issues like you did with Dwayne in 18. I think they're going to be okay. I don't like the 50-50. I did watch some Trey Sermon highlights in Oklahoma. It's just, and I don't want to be rude about it, but the Big 12, it's so hard to gauge that stuff because it almost looks like he's not running that fast. Like, you remember some of the times with JK, like, we always joked about JK just didn't have the top end speed, or maybe not even joke. I mean, JK didn't have breakaway speed.
Yeah.
He did that last year. He had some long, he had one against Clemson, one against Michigan State, but he never hit those before that. He always got caught at the end. Trey looked kind of like, not slow, but he had some good cuts, but it's just like the Big 12, you can't tell what's good and what's bad defense.
Yeah.
It's really hard to, distinguish between the two.
I mean, I understand some of your things with the top. And when you get a guy that breaks out, you want him to, take it to the house. But at the same time, we really should just be looking at it. You want them to get the first down.
Right.
And, if they're going to average, they might get tackled at 7 yards. That's still a 7-yard gain. And that still puts you in an unbelievable second down. So
I heard someone, and I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the beat writers. They had said though that the difference between the national title is going to be JK is going to get a run down on a 60-yard run that should be a touchdown. And I'm like, oh, you're joking. Like, the guy gets first downs all the time. And what's the difference of what's the difference of getting past that playoffs?
I mean, it's true. I mean, we talked about last week or a couple of episodes ago that there's other things that happened in that game.
Yeah.
And just that's definitely the biggest thing. Of course, if JK, the biggest thing.
If JK doesn't twist his ankle, none of it matters.
If they still tackle him and he doesn't twist his ankle, they still blow that game.
Right. None of it matters if he stays healthy. It doesn't matter if he got caught or not because they'd be chasing him down the entire game. So it doesn't matter. He'd be getting first downs and they'd be converting and getting points. It's unfortunate how it happened, but I just thought that was kind of funny because I like rolled my eyes, when I heard that. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, when's it ever the difference if a running back can break a 60-yard touchdown run or not? And sure enough.
Now, on the 50-50 stuff, it works other places, and sometimes you just gotta deal with it. These guys, yes, you would love to have the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, the J.K. Dobbins from last year, the guys that are gonna take.
Well, 18 was a weird year too.
And Ryan Day, even though he was the offensive coordinator there, but he was running a little bit different offense than even I think he wanted to run. He's running Urban's offense. He's calling the plays within Urban's offense, but it's still Urban has a different mindset of how things go, and it was just not the right offense that they ran for Dwayne. I think if Ryan Day had a little bit more freedom on stuff, then maybe Urban Meyer's is alpha male as they come. So I know Urban will say he handed the reins out to the stuff, and he did. He gave Ryan Day just like he gave Herman in 14 a lot more of the play calling duties, but Urban Meyer, at least from what I've heard from different people and just from, seeing him from afar, that, he's one of those guys, he doesn't like the play, well, where's the quarterback run?
Right.
And that's not to try to, and like I said, that's not cutting on Urban. Everybody knows how good of a coach Urban is. Urban just has a much different mindset than where I think Day's mindset is that he wants to beat you in schematics and using plays and stuff like that. And Urban's, and Ryan Day wants to beat you with, pure power and, running you over and stuff like that. But he's still here. He wants to use his playbook to do it, where Urban just wants to, we're better than them. And we're going to just run them over. So, it's just different mindsets. I think Day will have a lot more freedom with him being the head coach. And I think he can make it work. It works. It works in the NFL. We see it here in Cleveland. Nick Chubb is the primary back, but Kareem Hunt's doing a lot more runs than
Kareem Hunt's great. Hunt's great though. Those are NFL running backs.
Yeah, but you're not going to have guys. You're going to have the field spread out. You're going to have extra guys in the box because of your wide receivers. They should be able to make this work.
Well, and also 18. The offensive line was kind of a mess in 18 too. I don't know if Josh Myers is ready to start at center or not. Wyatt Davis sure as heck is ready to start at guard. So he should have been in there. Myers maybe if he's ready to start at center, and then Michael Jordan could have stayed, at guard where he should have been. Things might have been different then. It could have been better.
Yeah.
It just the line was kind of a mess. I'm not too concerned. I think they are a great team. They got great talent. They got great talent around them that opens everything up for them to run. I just 50-50, that kind of bothers me. I like having that one, bell cow running back that's going to take the load. But if it works, I have no problem with it. Now, I thought of this though, and I don't know. Because now they have depth in that running back room that we didn't think they did. So, and people are getting eligibilities this year. So I'm a little curious, and I know we want to talk about, other things, so we won't spend too much time on this. But if you had to think, if we were to get in the situation where we're not getting somebody or somebody's leaving because of this. So Master Teague, if I'm not mistaken, he's a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, I believe so. This will be his third year in the program.
So he can play a full year this year, and next fall he will be a redshirt sophomore. Because they don't lose any eligibility.
Yeah, that's what I believe how it's happening.
And he is a bright young man. I know he is. So I'm not sure what he's on track to do. I don't know what anyone's on track to do with Ohio State. But is there a scenario where he graduates after this year and he could go, when you have like Trevion Henderson, Evan Pryor coming in, and you want those guys to come in Ohio State, those are big bats. You want them in there. That's going to change our running back room for a while. Do you see Master T being a grad transfer, go somewhere else, and would he have 3 years eligibility then?
I mean, honestly, they haven't. They've ruled on it, but they haven't ruled on it, and it's just, I don't know. The coaches haven't really come out and explained it. I mean, I think the NCAA could do a little bit better. From what I understand, basically it's just a redshirt year for everybody, whether you play or not. So yeah, I mean, he can transfer.
Like Demario McCall, does he keep a year's eligibility? Could he play this last year with Ohio State and then?
I think McCall's leaving because he's going to get even buried further on the depth chart next year.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is, does he take that opportunity then? And again, I don't know where he is with graduating or not. He might have already graduated, but does he take that opportunity? Because I don't know if he's ready to go to the NFL. Does he transfer somewhere for one more year, try to showcase himself finally?
Oh, he could. I mean, I would actually recommend it for him.
I think, yeah, exactly. I think any of those guys that have been buried on the depth charts, maybe, look at that year last year with Ohio State, but you keep that eligibility, transfer next year.
I mean, could you see somebody I could see McCall easily going down 71 and joining a former coach of the coaching staff that's probably familiar with them. He'll get showcased at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure Luke could find plenty of places.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of room for him to fit in on that offense.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just interesting stuff to think about.
There's a lot of things. I mean, we kind of knew this was going to be. This off season is going to be really weird because I don't know how a lot of this stuff's going to get worked out yet. I know they don't want to lose any of these freshmen, and it seems like most of these freshmen are planning on signing come December. So, I don't know.
They're all coming for that Buckeye Bash, I think, on the 24th.
Yeah, so I don't think we're losing. I mean, from the sound of it right now, we're not losing any of them. So, I mean, yeah, we could lose a couple. I already expect one of you, possibly both, but I definitely expect either Crowley or Steele to leave.
But Steele, they didn't even know if that guy's going to be a running back. I don't know. There's not really room as linebacker for him either, but that's kind of what they had projected that he might play as a linebacker. He looked good as a running back though. But yeah, you don't know. I mean, you could lose both of them. You could lose neither of them. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure though with just how this year is, how many handoffs those other guys. I'm not going to go through person by person and try to break them down because honestly, I didn't see enough of them last year to be able to give you good insight on Steel Chambers or Marcus Crowley, and Crowley's coming off an injury. So it'll be that 50-50 split. I'm thinking Sermon and Teague are going to be fine though. And if Teague's not healthy enough, I do have confidence that Sermon, can be a lead running back for this team.
Yeah.
Possibly carry the ball, 20 plus times a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely stuff to be interesting to see going forward. All right, so moving on to tight ends. So we have Hausman, Farrell, and the last one's escaping.
Rucker.
Yes, sorry.
And Cade Stover now.
Cade Stover's in there now.
And I know Kid's there too. I can't think of his name.
But yeah, you seem like those top three are definitely are the ones that are going to be playing.
And you got crazy talent in the tight end room. And that's the thing is you might get them all back next year too.
Yeah, and I still don't know do they get tight ends at Ohio State for. I mean, I know we've only been on for a few episodes. I mean, I've screamed for I don't know, it seems like my entire life, ever since, we lost, ever since Dudley left Ohio State, that seems like the last time we ever used the tight end.
Yeah, I mean, different teams. Gone through the years, things have changed. I mean, and I hear people say, and I always think, and of course, you can pick out certain places, like, if you went to the tight end there, it could have worked, but did you honestly, would you want Luke Farrell catching the ball over Paris Campbell?
Yeah, no. Or
over KJ Hill?
If he's open.
Right, and I get that, but
it's kind of a weird, it
seems like it works in every college or anywhere in the pros, but for some reason Ohio State doesn't.
You got a just wealth of riches, and so you only have one football, and you got tons of talent.
Yeah, right.
trust. I mean, I get that. I see what we have at receiver talent. You just see what these guys could do. I mean, like I guess when you think about teams like Penn State and Iowa and teams that have at different times killed us on tight ends, that you just see that and they're like, man, we could be really using our tight ends too. But
so if you get the eligibility back, which I'm curious if they will. Sorry. So I'm curious though to see what's going to happen with the tight ends though. I don't know if Rucker has to have a great year to go pro after this anyways, because I think everyone knows what his upside is. And even Farrell, I think people know what his upside is too. But Luke Farrell's a person I can see that, he could have a great year and he can still come back next year because he might want one more year to, kind of sharpen his game to be ready for the NFL.
Yeah, and it seems like they all have the potential to, go to the next level. I mean,
I would expect, I think right now I would think Houseman would come back.
Yeah. But I mean, he does have NFL potential.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I think actually I saw a lot of good things from both Record and Farrell last year. That I was just cutting on them. They do throw it to the tight ends. It seems like whenever they throw it to the tight ends, it's a touchdown.
Well, I think Ryan Day made it a more integral part of his offense than what Irvin did.
You just remember that. Just a couple times. I mean, they're running free in the middle because you forget about them. I mean, when you won, you got some of the best wide receivers in the country lining them on the outside, and you usually have. I mean, it's Ohio State. You got a big ass running back in the backfield, and then you got a stud quarterback. And okay, here comes this 6'6" dude running right by you.
Yeah.
You're the linebacker, and he just runs right by you, and you need a quarterback that's gonna. Oh, there, my dude's open right there.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
Well, I mean, they had 2 touchdowns in the first game. You're like, the tight end's back at Ohio State now. Wrong.
Yeah, that was a good day for me because I love seeing those big guys running down the field and catching touchdowns. But
So I feel very confident. I think that's one of their strongest parts of their game this year is going to be their tight ends. I just don't know if they're going to catch any balls. I mean, they're going to catch some, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the whole offense is sick. Just all the skill players.
Mm-hmm.
And just and just like the receivers, just like the running backs, these dudes are taught that you got to block first in the Ohio State offense. So they're always nasty. They always come out ready to block, which I love. And people are probably like, that's what the tight ends are supposed to do. I mean, it's not always the case.
They don't always block everywhere anymore.
And at Ohio State, those dudes block.
Oh yeah,
and they're and that it's you can't argue about how unselfish the tight ends have been at Ohio State. We still get top tight ends, and like I said, sometimes I can't believe we do, but
and we're going to keep getting top tight ends.
But they want to come here. All right, so running back, tight end, finish off the offense. Of course, the offensive line. We have Mumford back. We have Myers back. We have Wyatt Davis back. And so those are the 3 starters. They're back. Then it seems like Harry Miller is going to be...
He's going to be your left guard.
Going to be the left guard. And worst case scenario, if somehow it doesn't work out, it seems like he very easily can move to center and Myers move out if that would happen.
Yeah, they're not. I mean...
Myers can play guard.
That would be some worst case scenario.
I mean, a lot of people.
Myers is your center.
I mean, from what I've heard, that yes, definitely true. It's just I've heard some people say that Miller is definitely a can't miss at center, and they think he's ready at guard. So the battle is going to be right tackle. So we have Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, and then we have seems like Paris Jackson, right?
Johnson.
Paris Johnson. He is now in the mix. He's the freshman. Very highly recruited. I mean, you always get that same every year. It seems like there's that guy out of Ohio, but it seems like maybe this is the next guy that gets thrown out every year. You seem like, well, I haven't seen. You hear these recruiting experts. I haven't seen a tackle this since Orlando Pace in the state of Ohio. But I've seen. I saw some of his high school tape. He's a monster. He sounds like he's mixing it up already.
I heard, I think it was Charles Bentley was talking about how everyone's like, oh, Jackson Carmen's the next Orlando Pace, Paris Johnson Jr. is the next Orlando Pace, and he said, slow the hell down. So, I mean, as far as, there's still only one Orlando Pace. But no, the he was a can't miss recruit. He was the hottest tackle that's come out in years. I think they had projected. I mean, Nicholas Petit-Frere ended up rated higher than Jackson Carmen, I believe. So, yeah. So they ended up, he was, he's been the highest rated Ohio tackle for some time. I would think, and this is complete, speculative conjecture. I don't really have anything to go off of here. I would think NPF has to be further ahead of that, though, just because of what got taken away from these freshmen. So I would think if I were to put money down, I would say Nicholas Petit-Frere being healthy would be your starting right tackle.
I think that's kind of where I'm leaning to. It's probably where they're leaning also. Now, I've always said if Paris Johnson ends up taking the starting role, it's one of two things. One of them's really, really good that, MPF is really good and he just blew him out of the water.
Yeah.
And the other thing's kind of bad that, Paris Johnson's not ready to play, but he beat out MPF.
Yeah, but he's still further along.
And so I think MPF will probably be further along. And actually, what I really hope happens is that, MPF has never really had a true, this is really his first chance of getting a shot at trying to start.
Well, he had last year. He could have won out last year. Brandon Bowen was good, but he wasn't a 5-star top tackle in the country.
Brandon Bowen was, I think probably the coaches gave Bowen the chance to be the starter a little bit more. At least from a couple of the things I heard last year from a couple of the beat reporters is that Bowen was getting those first reps.
Yeah, but even when Bowen hurt his back, Alabi was the first one.
Yeah, that's true.
Off the bench.
I don't know. I think Paris Johnson being a freshman, your MPF, you're this big time 5-star. You don't want a freshman up showing you. I think that competition is the type of competition he needs.
Yeah, I think so. And the guy, he came in good, but he came in so undersized. So it's been such a project to try to get him, to the weight that they need him to be.
And definitely agree with that one.
You can't be a tackle in the Big Ten weighing 260 pounds.
I want to see what, they have, the coaching staff had crutches before in Bowen and Alabi that they just don't have anymore. So, MPF has to show up now. If you want the job, you got to go win the job.
I heard DeJuan Jones is in the 2 deep at guard. Yeah.
I love that dude. That was a guy that came in hungry last year, wanted to prove himself, and that's figurative and literal.
That was a mountain of a man.
But he definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do because I was unbelievably impressed with him last year.
Oh yeah, he was so far ahead of what you expected you were going to get out of him. You thought he was like a 2-year project before he was even going to see the field.
And because of that, the last couple of years, you'd be kind of scared if there's an injury, what would happen.
Well, you're always scared if there's an injury on the line.
It's just the depth. But
if you have depth, you don't necessarily have the repetition.
I guess you're used to, though. You think that, I got a big-time star kid behind him that, hopefully his talent can come in and at least plug a hole for, a couple games. That's hopefully all you need. But because of DeJuan, it seems like now they have legitimate especially a tackle. And you even said if he's playing guard, they have legitimate backups now.
Oh, they got Matthew Jones to back up guard. I know Luke Weipler is only a freshman. They got Enoch Vermont. I don't know how to say his name. The kid from Hawaii. I guess he put on the weight that he needed to. I guess he's looking really good. And then Stud, they weren't like high recruited kids, but he loaded up on big tackles last year. So, and there's is it Max Ray?
Yeah.
I know we got the older one, and the brother ended up not coming.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Max Ray. The kid from Menor a couple years back. So yeah, they got them. They got a lot of linemen.
They definitely have they have a lot of depth in there. So
hopefully they're good.
Definitely the starters seem like they're going to be fine. I mean, as long as MPF comes out to where I think if he lives up to his potential, then you definitely think that they have. You think that they already have the makings of a good offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
If MPF lives up to his potential, and then you got Paris Johnson living up to his potential, then that becomes an excellent line because it doesn't matter at that point. Because at that point, you can even move Munford possibly down the guard if you want to. And if you have two outside tackles like their spots, I mean, it gives you options.
Well, that's something that Munford. I mean, he's been kind of injury prone, but that's kind of been a little bit of a knock is he's not like his hips aren't really that flexible. So yeah, if MPF comes in and Paris Johnson, you don't want a true freshman starting on your line. But if he's a generational talent, then I guess if he can do it, it's just not ideal. But but Mumford, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad move moving him down to guard if you had to.
Yeah.
Something, knock on wood, nothing happens to Josh Myers, but if you got to move Harry Miller down, and then you can, slide Mumford down.
It seems like they have options. It seems like there's options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where they have,
and it didn't really ever feel like that in the past. You had Alabi, you had that sixth lineman, and then it was like, oh crap! After that, you go much deeper now. So that's exciting. But of course, you might actually. Well, I'm not going to say you might have a better line than last year because I don't know if Harry Miller can be better than Jonah Jackson. But as far as starters, I mean, you're going to have one of the best offensive lines in the country, maybe the best offensive line in the country.
Jonah Jackson.
I wish that was him and Justin.
I wish we would have got him. I wish we would have got
that should have counted towards our recruiting rankings.
All right, so I think that's So that would be the whole offense. We talked about quarterback and receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to throw in there just on the offense as a whole before we move on?
I expect the offense just to be amazing this year. I really do. I know you're not going to get your cupcakes at the beginning of the season, but you still get to play Rutgers. I mean, you get them somewhere in there, but no, you got so much talent at receiver. I mean, running backs, I still think that's if there is a weakness, and even like. It's kind of hard. Like it's kind of like a glaring weakness compared to the rest of the team, but I still think the running backs are going to be good, and they're going to have what those receivers are going to be able to do for that run game with Justin Fields with that line. There's going to be openings. They're going to run this year. They're going to get their yards. Like I'm not afraid that they're not going to be able to run.
What I think about early in the season is Nebraska and Penn State are facing the same issues Ohio State's facing with the schedule.
Yeah.
And, we all were sitting. We all thought the season's been taken away from us and now it's back. I don't know how those two defenses hold up when if
Penn State doesn't get Micah Parsons.
And even that at this point, I mean, you got to figure there's going to be some rust on them. I get it. He's probably still training and stuff like that, but there's a different types of training than football training.
Right.
He hasn't been out in the practice field for the last couple weeks. And I'm not saying he's not a great player. I mean, Micah Parsons,
he's a great player.
He will show eventually if he comes back where he should be by the end of the year. But it's going to take him a couple games to knock off that rust. And it always seems like offenses are always ahead of defenses.
Yeah.
You have a legitimate offense. It usually takes the defense a couple weeks to really get into their groove. So, I mean, with the depth of our offense, I think that how just loaded they are. I mean, I don't see them. I see them easily getting through those first couple games. I really do.
Well, and that's if you get through those first ones easily. I mean, there's no reason why you should have really any competition until you get to Michigan at that point.
Yeah, definitely agree. All right, so to finish up this week. God, we had such a wild weekend.
Yeah.
The SEC joins college football.
SEC's back.
And then
college football can resume.
Big 12 is still proving that
they're garbage. Dumpster fire of a conference.
Crap. I mean, how the hell? And we were talking about this on Saturday. How the hell does Oklahoma and Texas not be able to recruit a defense?
I don't get it. It's like, how can you be a top 5 team year in and year out, and you can't just stop and think to yourself, hey, if I shored up my defense, we might win a national title. I don't know what it is with the Big 12. Like there isn't just one coach. I'm sure. Like I think Baylor when Bryles when he was there, he tried to get a decent defense out there. I think Iowa State, sometimes they try to slow the game down, and they're more of a defensive team. TCU's done it in the past. But I just don't understand why you can't, like your Tom Hermans and your Lincoln Rileys, why you can't just say, hey, you know what? I'm a better offensive coach than that person across the field. I'm Oklahoma. I'm Texas. I'm still going to recruit this top-end offensive talent. But maybe, just maybe, instead of having a shootout, I should try to recruit that I can, stop a team.
Yeah. Instead of maybe beating a team 55 to 50, maybe try beating them 55 to 10.
Right, exactly. And I just don't get why it's not a top
like
priority.
Ohio State when they and this is I mean
Oklahoma's
if Rutgers all right, bad example.
Yeah.
If
they're always a bad example.
If Illinois was playing in the Big 12 and you were recruiting those Big 12 players, Illinois, which would still be a bottom feeder, would lose to Oklahoma 55 to 35.
Yeah.
Because it seems like these bottom feeders, they can still score 35, 40 points on these, on Oklahoma, on Texas.
I mean,
but Ohio State, when Ohio State's blowing out teams last year, Ohio State's beating teams 55 to 6, 55 to 7.
Right.
40 to whatever. And
I mean, Kansas State, and the whole Iowa thing, the 55 points from a couple years ago. Kansas State's like the Iowa of the Big 12. They got no offense. Yeah. So they're like that one team that they try to play defense. They scored 38 on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So it'll never make sense to me why these guys, Oklahoma's got to see what their downfall is. They know what beats them every year is when they get against these better teams. These teams can score with them, and these teams can stop them from scoring every possession.
And
so why don't you get a defense that can stop these other teams from scoring every possession? Because you just get run over when you get into these big games.
To the Oklahoma, Texas fans out there, I'll be real honest. I might be biased as hell. You're not going to beat Ohio State has just as much of offensive firepower as you do.
Right.
But they have a better defense, and you might actually. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to hold you down, but you're probably not going to score more than 24 points against Ohio State's defense. You're not going to score more than
Clemson scored 29.
Yeah, you're not going to score, against Alabama's defense like you do against. Alabama is actually going to score. They can score right with you, and then they can shut you down. You couldn't. Kansas State. You couldn't shut Kansas State down.
Why do you think last year that it was such a big deal for LSU or Ohio State or even Clemson to get that number 1 seed?
Yeah, because
you knew you had a bye in that first round. I don't want to be offensive or insulting to Oklahoma, but it is what it is. JT Barrett, as much as I love the guy, he isn't walking through that door. If he comes and they play us again, it's not going to be like 17. It'd be like 16.
No. Yeah.
It'd be worse.
So Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. In my opinion, they're out of it.
I don't know. They always find a way to get back in.
This is such a weird year. I think that right now, they're going to finally start being held against them. That your defense sucks.
Yeah. But why?
I think Ohio State.
Why hasn't it already?
I think Ohio State's going to prove. Even if Ohio State ends up winning the Big Ten, and only if they lose a game but win the Big Ten, I think they're going to show enough on paper, on film at the end of the day that they're okay. We're taking Ohio State over Oklahoma.
No, I think so too.
Texas should have lost. Texas Tech completely mishandled a onside kick. But they should have lost.
You get the best recruiting grounds in the country, and you lose all your best players.
And that's what I was talking to our father.
That's an excuse
over the weekend during the games, and the thing that holds Ohio down in comparison to the Big Three. In my opinion, Ohio is right there 4 or 5. It's kind of interchangeable with Georgia on high school talent. But when you look at who goes to the pros, all that stuff, Ohio is right there. Ohio is a top 5 high school football state, but Ohio is just not a big state in comparison. It has population, but it doesn't have that type of population. Texas, they literally can recruit every position on the football field from your own state. You can find your best quarterbacks in the country. There's always a Texas kid up there.
Your any position.
Your line, your defense, every position. I mean, look at some of the kids Ohio State's taken out of there over the last couple of years.
You lost Jeffrey Okudah, Baron Browning, and J.K. Dobbins in 1 year.
Yeah. So how the hell can Texas put a defense on?
No, I don't. I'll never get it. I'll never get what's wrong with the Big 12.
And I don't want to hear that, in the Big 12's offenses, they're just all, because you have to recruit those type of offenses.
No, you don't.
If any of these middle to bottom feeding Big 12 teams played in the Big 10, Ohio State would hold them to 24 points and below.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't think Ohio State could go over and play in the Big 12 and win the conference?
And those teams, yeah, maybe they could get to 24, but those would be garbage time points.
Yeah.
And Ohio State would probably already have in the 50s.
Right. And that's the thing. It's just like you can recruit both. You can do both. You can score points and still have a great defense.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State or Penn State would run the Big 12. I mean, I'm sorry.
Am I getting the fact correct? Like, I thought I saw that Oklahoma hasn't had a first-round defensive player drafted in a decade.
I mean, I didn't see that personally, but it wouldn't surprise me because I don't even know who it was.
I think Gerald McCoy. Defensive tackle.
Sounds like the last good guy that they had to me.
So I think that's what I read.
Yeah, definitely a farce. When you think about their national championship team from the early 2000s, they didn't score a damn point.
Oh my gosh, I know, but they had a good defense.
Yeah.
So,
so Texas should have lost, and then so we get the SEC, DBU.
All right. So I'll cut you off before. How can a DBU, I don't care what you've lost, I don't care if you're playing an air raid for a new coach, a new system for that team that had no spring football. What big-time school has ever given up 600 yards passing? I don't care if it's an air raid or not.
Yeah. And mind you, they didn't have spring football either. And, a lot of those guys, I mean, that's a new coaching staff.
That's a new quarterback. I mean, he's a transfer from Stanford.
So, okay.
Of course, I see everyone's already giving him the Heisman, which
we know.
September
Heisman is our brethren from up north now. September Heismans don't count.
They know it all too well.
So,
yeah, I mean, LSU, that was embarrassing. And I know, and I said, we had talked last week, and we said that we thought that they would win, but it would be interesting with what Leach could do with the new system, and we knew LSU was not going to repeat. I mean, I said that I would bet anything against them repeating, that Ed Ogeron should be inducted into the Hall of Fame immediately if they did win a national title this year. So we knew what they lost. It's just, man, I did not expect them to look that bad.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, the way they look like they're going to lose a couple games. They're going to. I mean, Alabama's easily going to beat them, and now you think that Auburn will probably easily beat them too. Auburn was enough. A
lot of them were. But A&M only scored 17 points against Vanderbilt, and I always tell you they're the most overrated team ever.
Yeah,
Johnny Manziel didn't win anything, and somehow that team's always top 25, top 15.
Georgia looked like crap. Of course, what did we say? I said it last week. If I believe it was that if they look bad, it's the Kirby. Is it more Georgia? Is it Kirby Smart offense?
That Dwan Mathis, he's not ready to be a quarterback. Not right now. Arkansas. Do you know the last time they won an SEC game?
I mean, I'm assuming.
You want to take a guess?
Burt is the coach there.
I don't know about that. No, I don't think he did. In 2017. They only won one.
Yeah.
So they haven't won an SEC game the last two seasons, and they only won one the year before that. And
Rutgers of the SEC.
Oh my gosh, they were giving Georgia everything they wanted, though. Everything they could in that first half.
Yeah.
So Georgia. I know the guy recruits great, but Mark Richt recruited great. They gave Mark Richt 15 years.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember if there was anything else.
I think Rick has a lot better offenses than other guys.
Yeah.
This guy's, talking about
do you think, is there a point that Kirby gets a short leash, or do they, do they give him 15 years?
They're not giving him 15 years. he'll be lucky to get a couple more years if they
these
don't.
recruiting classes they get, they should be winning.
Yeah,
they should be better.
And Georgia's a high talent state. I mean, they should be able to put a better coach in there and get better. Now Clemson. I mean, Clemson's taking legitimate kids from them.
Yeah.
So the recruiting classes are very good. They're just not proving it on the field.
I mean, do you have any doubt in your mind that Florida's going to handle them?
I was impressed with. I mean, I know Lane again. New coach in this whole pandemic thing really hurts a lot of the teams with new coaches, coaching staffs. But Florida really impressed me.
I don't know if I don't think Georgia's necessarily going to play a close game with them.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe Florida actually could be. There's a lot of people have been putting Florida possibly in the playoffs. They could be a legitimate team. And I said when the Big Ten came to that, if I was the Big 12, I'd be more worried about a second. If I was a Big 12 champion, I'd be more worried about the second SEC team than I would be an undefeated 9-win Ohio State or Penn State.
I wouldn't be campaigning against the Big Ten. I'd really start campaigning against a second SEC team because, like you said, I said, Oklahoma always finds a way to squeeze back in, but this will be a year that they're going to say, even if they have one loss, they're going to say, no, second SEC team's better.
And Florida I'm pretty sure Florida and Alabama don't play each other this year. Georgia actually, they play both Alabama and Auburn. They're going to get
beat up now.
They're going to get smoked. Like they play both Bama and Auburn this year.
They play Auburn next week.
Yeah, and
Alabama's in 2 weeks.
So I mean, I think Kirby Smart's not going to get fired this year, but he will be on the hot seat.
I think next year he's going to have there's going to have to be a conversation with Kirby that going into next year.
Yeah, he needs to hire. He'll be one of those coaches that you need to go hire an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you need
legit.
You need to make a splash with your offense next year.
Yeah. I think those are all the big losses of the weekend.
I mean Miami.
Oh,
did you not think on Florida State's first drive that was like, all right, this is going to be a game?
Yeah,
and it was not a game.
No,
that was
okay. So
bludgeoning.
Where are we at on time wise?
We're getting closer to an hour 10.
Okay, so just quick 5 minutes before we throw out of here. Does Miami have a shot at Clemson?
I would really like for that safety not to have gotten ejected for targeting in the second half of that game. They're going to miss the first half of the Clemson game because Miami's on a bye this week, right? Their next game is Clemson. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think Clemson's still too good, but when the U's rolling in, when they got that swagger going, they can beat teams. So they got talent on that team.
It'll be a fun game to watch. I think Clemson will beat them.
Again, I don't like that safety being
out there. I think the U's got to play a game with them.
That defensive end, that guy's a stud. That transfer to Miami, he got kicked out of the game too. That's just a Miami thing.
Yeah.
But I know Clemson, they replaced a lot of their offensive line.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There might be ways to try to get the Trevor Lawrence to rattle the guy a little bit.
I think Clemson wins. I think it's a 90% plus chance that Clemson wins. I think the U is actually going to give them a game. And I think that...
Game is in they win the last minute, or game is in Clemson only beats them by 14?
I think it's going to be... I honestly...
Is this a game in the fourth quarter?
This is a game in the fourth quarter. They might get the 14. I'm going to say I think Clemson only beats them by 10 or less.
At the end,
and we can talk more about that on our next show.
Miami has a quarterback.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he does throwing the ball because he's going to have to stretch these corners out.
He's not particularly tall, but he's dealt with that before. I mean, the guy's had success.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting going forward. I think that would be, coming into the year, I didn't think Clemson was going to have their first game until they go to South Bend on the 7th. But, now...
Does the ACC look a little better to you than you thought it would be this year?
Yeah, Miami's definitely Miami is definitely showing that to me. I'm not going to be one of the. I mean, I've heard some people say, "Oh, the U's back." I've seen the U at different times, win some big games early in the season and implode.
Right.
So I'm not going to say that they're back. We all know that there's plenty of talent, and you can call it still the state of Miami from the U 30 from 30, and I always love that. I mean, there's still so much talent there that they should be one of the best teams in college football.
Yeah.
But it's just what always gets them is they fall apart somewhere. So
no, I know, and I would honestly thoroughly enjoy, and that's not anything against Clemson, but if Miami, Florida State, if those teams started getting good again, where they were making the playoffs every now and then, and not just Clemson every year.
Yeah, I would like to see Miami and Florida State if they could get at least have one of them, possibly UNC too. There's, I think Mac could start a better get a program going there for going forward. At least, I mean, Clemson's right now the Alabama of the ACC, but they don't have their Auburn, they don't have their Georgia, they don't have their LSU
or Penn State.
Yeah, or Penn State. They need some of if they get some of those teams that where maybe they're not making it every year, then the ACC can be a better conference.
And it's more enjoyable.
Yeah. All right, so I think we're gonna call it a night there. Just to remind everybody, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit the like button on the video. Throw us a comment. We will respond. We try to be pretty active whenever we get comments on anything. So feel free and follow us on Twitter. Follow us on our Facebook page, Instagram, Buckeye Bar Talk. It's pretty easy to find. I think we have the same picture up of on all the feeds. It's of our little Woody back here. Probably can't see him around my. I'm like the eclipse over Woody right now, but so just come enjoy the family, our little bar community, and I'm Mike.
I'm John. Somebody give Joe Boo a rum refill because the Indians are getting smacked right now. So we need some good juju going on for the Tribe tonight. I'm John, though. Thanks for coming out to the Buckeye Bar tonight. OH.
I-O. Well, thank you for watching here, the Buckeye Bar Guys, here on the Buckeye Bar Talk Network. Please subscribe to the network, and when you get the little notification bell, just hit that. Hit all notifications. That way you will get alerted when all the new episodes come up. Comment, like the show, and we hope you join our community. Come join our bar.
Like, comment, share. I'm John. That's Mike. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.